What is up, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the ONETA Show, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, I am your host, Evan Davies, and I am fresh off a flight. And when I say fresh off a flight, I landed about 2 hours ago, finally got settled back at home, and went straight to recording for all you lovely folk of the internet because I have a show to do, you have a show to listen to. I wanted to talk about something that I'm extremely passionate about. So the lead into that is this. If you have not seen this in the news, it's a wonderful news item, not a negative news item, which seems to be filling our world entirely. There's a young man by the name of Spencer McCullough who just biked 18, count it, 18,000 miles across the United States of America and visited every single national park in the lower 48 states of the United States. Anything that he could take his bike to in the lower 48, he did. First and foremost, as a national parks lover myself, a lover of nature, and just loving feats of physicality and accomplishment, well fucking done, dude. I hope you can hear the claps in the mic because that's an insane level of commitment and impressive nonetheless. That is Forrest Gump level stuff here, folks. He started in Biscayne National Park, which is it's in the southern tip of Florida, near Miami. It's about 35, 45 minutes outside of Miami. Actually, one of my favorite parks I've ever been to. And he looped west from there, hit the Everglades, and just kept on going west, and then looped up to the north, all the way back up from northwest, all the way back to the northeastern corner, and he just finished his journey in Acadia National Park in Maine. And once again, props to you, well fucking done, Spencer McCullough. His goal with this was to bring more awareness to bike safety in the parks, bring more eyeballs from people to, get on your bike, go do something in nature, go make the parks a better place for bikes as well. He's following his passion, and to that I have to say all the credit in the world to you. That's phenomenal. Follow your passion, follow your dreams, follow what makes you happy, and go do it. Find what makes you happy, go do it. That's the whole point of this. That's what I do here on this show. It's what I do in every show we do. It's what I do when I go on vacation. I don't do a lot of the vacations where go sit on a beach and chill. My wife would like to do that a little bit more. I need to pepper that in a little bit more, but I don't, because our passion together is actually to visit every single national park as a married couple. And this past week we just hit 24 parks together. So this past Thursday, as of recording, we hit the Grand Canyon, and before that we revisited parks for the first time. Went to Zion National Park and Bryce Canyon National Park. So just like our extended friend from the fact that he loves the national parks as much as I do, Spencer McCullough, congrats to you once again. Follow your passion. I wanted to talk about one of my passions here on the show. I don't know how long this show is going to go, but I wanted to talk national parks. I kind of had the idea seeing Spencer sharing his love and his passion. For those who do not know, which is why the thumbnail flashed on the video service of this right after the original ONETA show thumbnail, is because I actually do the ONETA Adventure Show, which is a monthly entry, which is going to be far more consistent. I was still formulating the idea. I did one test run of it. It's up now, which you can go see and go watch. It's a little bit longer than I think it probably should. So you're going to see it change a little bit. But this is kind of a crossover with another episode or another show that we do over at PT Creative called the ONETA Adventure Show, which is highlighting national parks and wonderful, beautiful places to go in the world and have an adventure. So today is a crossover episode with the ONETA Adventure Show and the ONETA flagship show. Because I really just want to be passionate and talk about something that I love and care about, especially with such a lead-in from this young man, Spencer McCullough. And I also had the idea a couple weeks back, myself and my younger brother, who was a wonderful co-host, Dylan Davies, who you're going to see a lot more on the show and listen to a lot more of on the show. did a summer movie preview. And I thought, what if we did a summer parks preview? Or just a recommendation. So I'm not going to go into full detail like I would on the ONETA Adventure Show. The ONETA Adventure Show, for those who do not know, I would highly recommend go watch because I love it and you're going to get a lot of good information. I go really nitty gritty deep into hikes, places to stay, things to do in a single national park or a single place. Doesn't always isn't going to be a national park, but I'm a big parks person, so that's what the focus is of forward. However, I wanted to give a little bit of show note to that. So, I'm going to go through some slides here and give you my 5 recommendations, just like Spencer McCullough did for his bike and biker safety, if you're seeing the video service right now. I'm going to give you my 5 parks to visit during summer. Now, these 5 parks, every national park is worthwhile in some way, shape, or form. Even the ones that I'm kind of like, meh, doesn't deserve a national park. One of my biggest things while doing this for you is to make certain for all of you to know this. Every national park is worthwhile and deserves a reason to go. Whether you love it or you're kind of like me, that's up for you to determine. To me, I love each and every one of them their own way. There are some I believe shouldn't be a national park. They should still be in the National Park Service. Some of them already were. Looking at you, Gateway Arch and Indiana Dunes. Couldn't tell, those are my 2 least favorite that I've ever been to. I've been to 24 parks at this point now. But I've done 90 national park sites. So for those who do not know, I'm going to get you the official number here. There are 63 national parks recognized by the National Park Service. And there are, let me get you a number here. There are 429 national park sites. So I've cracked about 20% of the National Park Service at this point. Also, on top of that, there are wonderful, wonderful places to go that are managed by the Bureau of Land Management, which are also known as national monuments or national recreation areas. Similar to that, U.S. forests have beautiful places to go. I just went through Prescott National Forest, Coconino National Forest, Kebab National Forest, Dixie National Forest. I went through a few national forests last week. I started my trip in Vegas, drove from Vegas because it's the best way to Zion. Went Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon National Park, went down to the Grand Canyon for the first time there, and then ended my trip with a little bit of relaxation in Sedona, Arizona, which also has world-class hiking around it. Beautiful, beautiful hikings around it. And great state parks around it, too, in Slide Rock and Red Rock State Park in Arizona. So those are really cool places to go. But I'm going to give you 5 parks to go to this summer. All of them are worthwhile, but these are just some that I wanted to highlight for you. I'm not going to go super deep dive into all of them, but just give you a little taste, a little moose-boosh, if you will. So, park number 1, following the lead of our favorite biker, Spencer McCullough. Here we go. Park number 1 that I want to highlight is actually the park I highlighted in the first ONETA Adventure Show, and it is Acadia National Park in Bar Harbor, Maine. Not every national park is going to have a city right next to it or in such and such, but Acadia is literally 10 minutes, not even 5 minutes outside of Bar Harbor, Maine. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful park. So with this, kind of vacation vibe, I want to say this. Acadia has a super vacation vibe. Acadia is the number 7th most visited park on an annual basis in the entire National Park Service in terms of national parks. Acadia, and by the way, I'm going to be using these statistical numbers. They come from Ash Nudd, who is a former national park ranger, through the site Dirt in My Shoes. It's a great source to go to. I got some good numbers from them. So if you want some extra help and you don't want to just take my word for it, you want to find another source for yourself, go check out Dirt in My Shoes, and you can find Ash Nudd, who is a former park ranger, to write from. So Acadia is the number 7 visited park annually. So there, you are going to run into some people, but there is enough to do throughout Acadia to really give you a wonderful, wonderful vibe of vacation. What's the coolest thing about Acadia is it's one of the few parks that's directly located on the ocean, but has a varied landscape to allow you to do a lot of different things. Inside of Acadia, you can hike, you can swim, you can rock climb to a degree. Um, it's a beautiful driving park as well. It's one of the few parks that still has a functioning restaurant in it as well. Um, has its own signature dish as well to it, which is pretty fun. But you're going to get a lot of varied landscape, very cool rock formations and smaller mountains. By the East Coast standard of 1,000-foot mountains, there is nothing that hits the official standard of 2,000 feet high, but by some standards, 1,000 feet makes a mountain. So Acadia does have that side. But you'll get beautiful panoramic views from those high points that are just utterly gorgeous of ocean, forest, mountain. Very, very fun landscape to be in. And I certainly would suggest you go to Acadia. It's also, I made sure to say vacation vibes. Acadia is a very welcoming park to go to. You can go there with, anywhere from, your most athletic, I want to do everything possible outside friend to your oldest relative. There's something for everybody in Acadia. It's why I recommend it. Acadia, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I do really love Acadia. My wife loves Acadia even more than I do. For context, the two of us keep a ranking of every single national park that we've done together. Acadia is hard to ever bump out of the top 5 because my wife loves it that much and I really did appreciate it. This is the first park I also got to go to with my brother who loves nature stuff as well. So it was really cool to get that experience with him. But there's so much fun stuff to see in Acadia. I highly recommend anyone go and just go check it out. It's a fun vibe. It can be a far more relaxed vacation vibe while still getting a really good, healthy dose of beautiful outdoors. And I will say oh my God, what is it called? I'm going to give a hike as much as I possibly can to every single national park here, or a highlight of every national park. It's the Gorge Path. Take the Gorge Path if you're going to do a hike. That's a beautiful, beautiful hike. I'm going to pull up my all trails just to make sure I have that correct. But I highly recommend that hike as well. It was my favorite. It's one of my favorite hikes we've ever done in terms of the actual hike itself going upward. Coming down, we took a different route. That was not the best route possible on Mount Cadillac. However, I will say that the first portion of the Gorge Path was one of my favorite hikes we've ever done. It felt straight out of Lord of the Rings. Utterly beautiful, super fun stuff to do. So Gorge Path hike, really, really fun. Just find a better way down than we did. is the best way I can tell you. So one of the first ones I really want to highlight for you, Acadia National Park. So the park the official thing, if you're going to use all trails, which is another great resource for you, is the Cadillac Mountain, North Ridge, and Gorge Path. Really fun hike. It's about 4.5 miles. I think we extended ours a bit, but beautiful hike. Really, really enjoyed it. You're gonna have a lot of fun. Good. So, Acadia National Park is number 1 place to visit. And this is in no particular order in terms of, I highly recommend Acadia over anything else. You will hear my tone change at what is clearly my favorite place to go to when we get to it. I'm doing this front to back. And Acadia National Park is also very welcoming to the northeast of the United States, which is why it gets really big numbers. So anything in New England, anything New York and Boston forward, it's from Boston, it's about 5 to 6 hours away. New York, it's roughly 10 hours away, 9 hours away. My wife and I drove it in 2 days' time. It was about a 10-hour drive. We stopped in Lowell, Massachusetts on the way up, and continued our trip, and then made the way down as well. So it's a great northeastern park to go to. Now, your second park I want to talk to you about and get a little recommendation on. It's Bryce Canyon National Park. It's a park that I was just at this past week. Bryce is a extremely unique and fun park to be. The one thing I'll tell you, summertime is it's going to be hot. However, the elevation is going to help you a lot. If you go into this canyon, if you're looking at the video feed, the canyon can get a bit hot in direct sunlight. However, it is a very, very, very worthwhile hike, an extremely unique hike in the National Park Service. I wish I could have a cursor on this for you because in the as you see the lowest point of trees in the canyon coming down, right around there's a very square looking rock right next to it. That's called Thor's Hammer, and it's part of the Queen's Garden, which is a beautiful section of rock formations or hoodoos in Bryce Canyon National Park. Bryce is actually a sneaky favorite of both my wife and I's and our friends who just went with us. It was really fun. We went with our friends who are really chosen family, and one has been national parks person her entire life due to her father, and the other one doesn't hike at all. That's my boy Brandon, who is going to be a guest on the ONETA football show soon. He is not a hiker. It was one of his first national parks. He had done Shenandoah prior, but he was utterly amazed by Bryce Canyon, just like everybody else is. Bryce offers a really cool, unique amount of hikes to get beautiful, very high yield in return on investments for your efforts. That's the best way to say it if you want to use financial terms. Return on investment, or it's a very high yield hike where you are going to get beautiful landscapes and beautiful views no matter where you go. If you are along the canyon edge or going into the canyon, you are going to see some of the best views that the world truly has to offer. And I recommend Bryce specifically because the elevation will make it a little bit easier for you in the summertime. Bryce Canyon is number 15 of the most visited parks on an annual basis, so still a high number, but it's not Great Smoky Mountain, which is number 1, or Grand Canyon, which is number 2, which, like I said, I was just there. And I saw the numbers tick. We went Thursday and Friday going into Memorial Day weekend. Thursday, it was still clear. Well, it's Grand Canyon. You're going to get numbers. Friday, complete zoo. Different story. It was completely different. The other thing I would highly recommend on Bryce, besides the fact that it is just utterly beautiful with some of the best views you can ever buy, and with a decent attendance number, is this. It is only 2 hours away from both Capitol Reefs National Park, 2.5 hours to Capitol Reefs, I guess, and 2 hours away from Zion. My wife and I actually have stayed in the same place twice on vacations. We're just like, that was the best Airbnb ever for both of those. So our friends wanted to do Bryce and Zion and the Grand Canyon, and we were more than happy to come with them. So we picked out the Airbnb that we'd stayed at 2 years ago and now just this past week, which is right outside of Hurricane, Utah, in Alton, Utah. If anyone is ever interested in that specific Airbnb, because it's a really nice, beautiful place, I'm more than happy to put in the comments section the link to it. But you can uniquely stay between Zion and Bryce, or even if you were willing to make the drive, you could kind of make a triangle going north between Capitol Reefs, Zion, and Bryce if you're someone who appreciates being in the car and driving and seeing beautiful things while you're driving. You could theoretically do all three. It might be a little rough on you, but you could do it. But Bryce is uniquely located amongst beautiful landscapes everywhere. You're in the Dixie National Forest. It's near Cedar Breaks National Monument, which was, again, a beautiful thing to witness. I got to see that for the first time this vacation because we just didn't get a chance to go last time. And we even got snow, which is gorgeous. But Bryce Canyon is a wonderful, wonderful place to be. It's going to be one of those parks that's going to blow you away because it's not talked about enough. But it'll blow you away because of the views. And hopefully this picture sells it to you pretty well if you're looking at the video service. All right. Third park I want to highlight for you. It's the one of the classics of the American road trip, if you will, and that's Rocky Mountain. Rocky Mountain National Park. It's in Estes Park, Colorado. I say it's in Estes Park because it's literally the city line goes up to the park line. Um, you are never far away from Estes Park while you are in national park territory in Rocky Mountain. The thing about Rocky Mountain that I wanted to really highlight, besides the fact that I went over July 4th weekend last year. Our a friends of my wife and I, actually coworker of my wife's, was getting married. They're actually from Colorado, so they got married in Estes Park over 4th of July weekend. So we got to see good numbers, and it still did not feel overwhelming to be there over the 4th of July weekend, which would be a perfect time to go camping. What's really cool, again, is you're going to get world class views if you go to Rocky Mountain National Park. I only, unfortunately, just due to the time frame of the wedding and other things we had to do, I only got to do one real hike, but I did a lot of driving, did almost the full park in driving, went fully up into elevation. The coolest thing about Rocky Mountain National Park is obviously the viewpoints, but what is super interesting about it is you understand the grandeur with every foot forward you take. That is the best way to sum up Rocky Mountain. When we were about 7,000 to 8,000 feet up, I was like, oh my god, this view. I can't. Can you just can you? This is straight out of a movie. Can you even imagine something like that in your head? We'd take one winding turn up a road. We'd gain 50 to 100 feet of elevation, and the view would be even more spectacular. And it just keeps going and going and going and going that way, to the point where when you are up in the high peaks of Rocky Mountain, you are just surrounded by absolute beauty. It's the kind of thing that'll bring a tear to your eye if you're an emotional person, because you, in the best way possible, you understand how small you are in the world, how small you are in this universe, but that you're still at home and at peace with that because you are surrounded by some of the most magnificent views you could ever have. The other really cool thing, and why I highlighted Rocky Mountain specifically, Estes Park, very cool place to take a little vacation. Very outdoors friendly, but has restaurants and shops that are of quality. So it's not like you're going to you. They understand that they're a tourist destination, and there's definitely touristy stuff, but there's still high quality restaurants, high quality food around there. There are musical performances. It's very easy and accessible to get things. So Estes Park is a great thing. The other thing is you're about 35 minutes away from Colorado University, which is actually tremendous because then you get more access to food, outdoors, things of that nature. You're about an hour and 15 minutes away from Denver, which, again, world class fun city with a lot to do. And you have access to the entire Rocky Mountains from there. So, one of my favorite places I've ever been, I found it on complete accident, is actually a place called Mount Evans, which has the highest highway, as they like to say. It's the highest elevation highway in all of North America, and it takes you to a peak at Mount Evans, which is about 17,000 feet. I found it on complete accident. My wife was doing an away rotation at Colorado University while she was, applying to jobs going into her medical residency. So what I would do for the week that I got to be out there, she was out there for a month, I was out there for a week. The awesome thing that I got to do was I'd wake up in the morning, I'd drop her off at the hospital, I'd go back to the place that we were staying. I would sleep for maybe another hour or two just because elevation was taking it out of me. I wasn't acclimated. The elevation can kill you if you're not careful. It can really break you down. So just be smart, be careful, and you'll be okay. But the coolest thing about that was then I would just take the car and I just go mountains that way, which from Denver is west. And I just went mountains that way, and I just drove. I just followed the highway wherever it took me. Very, very free spirit 60s hippie style, if you will. But nothing was needed other than the view. And I just meandered my way through a little town called Idaho Springs and went south from there and kept gaining elevation to Mount Evans, which is another beautiful place. God, the views are just so gorgeous. And it makes you fully, God, it just makes you fully understand things. And you're close enough within distance if you want to go see a performance of music, movie, comedy. They do everything there at Red Rocks Amphitheater, which is a world class venue to experience things. I actually saw the movie Mighty Ducks there while I was in Colorado with my wife. I saw a replaying of that, which was really fun. But you're near enough civilization that you can get a really fun vacation vibe while still getting some of the best nature that the United States and the world, but specifically the United States, has to offer at Rocky Mountain. So I highly recommend Rocky Mountain. It's number 5 on the visitor at the most visited, which makes sense. It is a heavy driving park, but there are still plenty of hikes for you to separate and get away from people. Really, really enjoy your recreation time there. So highly recommend Rocky Mountain National Park. Another one, low key here actually. It's New River Gorge. It's one of the newer national parks. It was elevated from it's new. It's actually New River Gorge National Park and Preserve. The thing about New River Gorge that is just utterly, utterly spectacular is the fact that you are getting to see something as wild and cool as this extended bridge that seemingly goes on for miles, while also getting great, great areas for just recreation of any kind. What's cool about New River Gorge is it's still higher than I thought it would be. It's number 17 on most visited, but that's because you're driving through it. Many people just drive on the bridge and say, "Oh my God, how beautiful!" They don't really stop in the park. What's really, I think, the best part about New River Gorge is actually getting to go and enjoy the view of everything. That's where I would highly recommend that. And I'm going to go back and give some hikes to everyone just so I'm organized in thoughts for you guys. That's why I kind of skipped the last two because I want to have the most organized thoughts for you. But in New River Gorge, what was honestly something that impressed me the most was when you first see this picture, and I took this picture in March, which is why the color isn't as vibrant. By the way, all the photos that you're seeing in the national parks, that's all me. I took all those photos. You may think my photography isn't great. I understand that. I'm not a professional photographer. But I wanted to really show raw photography here so you could really get a sense of what it is, not a hyper edited thing that you could see online. Not that there's anything wrong with those photos because they're all beautiful and they all inspire me. I just wanted to give you something, a slice of my own slice of life here. So that's why all the photos are something that I have personally done. So the big thing about it is for me is getting to go down into the canyon on either side of the gorge. What is utterly spectacular what's utterly spectacular to me is getting to go through and seeing a mining colony down in the gorge or getting just beautiful rock formations all around and getting a really cool, fun community. On the western side of the park, about, I want to say maybe 10, 15 minutes away from the park, if I'm remembering correctly, is Fayetteville, West Virginia. I'll say that again, Fayetteville, West Virginia, because I kind of rushed that one. The biggest thing for me was the fact that you're getting a cool community that's welcoming, vibrant, and fun. But right 10 minutes down the road, you're getting a world class national park. World class national park. That has the ability you can You can do whitewater rafting right near the park. You can do rock climbing right near the park. Do great hikes all throughout. Be buried in deep, deep trees, in a gorgeous landscape in West Virginia, but at the same time, just the right amount of distance, and out of nowhere, you're going to get this beautiful cliffside with rocks, rock formations, and cuts into the rock that are just utterly gorgeous, and a view of the river going through. Um, it's near the Gauley River. It's the National Riverway, I believe. There's more national recreation areas and things near there. West Virginia was actually the first park or was the first state with multiple national park sites that my wife and I completed every single one of them, or at least visited every single one of them, which is really fun. Which I will do another thing for you. That's really cool, in my opinion, at the end, which is our national park passport program that the National Park Service has. But New River Gorge is just another thing. I'm sorry, I just got a little distracted doing some numbers and things for you. But New River Gorge, I can't sell enough. It's number 17, but it does not get real visitors in terms of people visiting it and really doing hikes, rafting, things of that nature. It just doesn't happen. There is a full old abandoned mining colony that's really fun to explore down in the canyon, which is different than any other national park. You're getting kind of reverse hikes where you're going down in elevation then having to come back, which is usually reverse. You're usually going up and then having to come back down. Um, it's just a really, really cool place to be. And it's something that's never talked about enough. And it's still a national preserve, which shows you how much wild area around there it has. Really fun place to be. I would highly recommend it to anybody. I absolutely could, because it's just gorgeous. Gorgeous, I tell you. Now, before I go further, because I have one more park for you, do have to ask, because I want to do more adventures and I want to be able to talk to you guys. Head over to Etsy shop. It's ptcreative.etsy.com for this nice little commercial ad break for you. Go to ptecreative.etsy.com. Go get some cool stuff to inspire your next adventure. Okay? You're going to get all kinds of cool stuff over there. All kinds of great stickers, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, hoodies, all kinds of cool stuff. And all is based upon things that I do here on the channel. We got a lot of good Pokemon stuff. We're doing more national park stuff now. Got football stuff for the football show. All kinds of cool things over there. Great things. You can stick them on your water bottle. You can get into your backpack. You can wear it on a hike. If you've been checking out our socials, you'll even see me and some of our merchandise at Montezuma's Castle National Monument, which is a really cool place down in Arizona. Had to rep the brand. I've learned from Pat McAfee for the brand. Rep the brand while you're out there. It's a fun thing to do. So go to ptecreative.etsy.com. Go get yourself some really cool merch and enjoy your time over there. Help us out, and we want to help you out as much as possible by giving you some sweet stuff and help a local artist. And local, I mean on the internet, like everybody else. But nonetheless, help a brother out. I want to be able to give you some cool stuff. So go to ptecreative.etsy.com and go get yourself some cool merchandise. Back to the show. We go from New River Gorge, which is the last one I want to tell you about, to absolutely my favorite park of all time. And that is Yosemite National Park in California. Yosemite, we've talked a lot of gaming on this channel. The easiest way that I can explain Yosemite, especially to the gaming crowd, if you will. Yosemite to me was like stepping into Skyrim. This picture does not sell because no picture can. How insane of a variation of landscapes you can find at Yosemite. Yosemite is the number 6 most visited park in the country, so you are going to get people. But the best thing about Yosemite, I went in the early to mid June. This is the first national park I ever went to. My wife often likes to remark that she screwed up taking me Yosemite first because nothing can compare to Yosemite. While there is a little bit of nostalgia there for me, that isn't the reason that nothing can compare to Yosemite. Nothing can compare to Yosemite that we've visited because nothing's come close yet. There's been parks that I've absolutely loved, I've adored. Nothing comes close to Yosemite. If you're looking at the video feed, you're seeing a beautiful granite peak in the subalpine region, about 9,000 feet high. The peak itself probably hits the alpine region status of 10,000 feet or higher, with a crystal clear, beautiful lake that you can swim in, you can enjoy your time by, you can just sit and have a leisurely picnic at. And this is just one of many different landscapes you're going to get in Yosemite. It's the best drive I've ever taken if you're a driver as well. One of the best things it was a blessing in disguise because the initial part sucked for this story, not the park itself. My wife and I, first time we ever did a national park was Yosemite. First time we ever really went hiking together, Yosemite. And she went from studying for step 1, which is the most consequential test in medical school. She went from 6 months of straight studying to I'm gonna hike Half Dome. Half Dome, along with El Capitan, is one of the most highly regarded hikes in the entire world. Okay, there's a permitting system for it that you do have to be a little bit careful for, but you can hike and you have to go up rungs with chains on the sides of them up this granite peak. The hike itself is at least 14 miles. We started and did the Mist Trail, which is absolutely phenomenal. She got hurt early on, fortunately. And we didn't get to do Half Dome, which was a shame, but we made it to Sub Dome, which is right before the hike really starts. Or right before the real difficulty begins. And one of the things I absolutely got to love about the park was the fact is the next day, in the next couple days, she slowly but surely recovered and was able to hike again in a real fashion. Like she could walk, but it was really tough on her. She powered through as best she possibly could. But one of the best things about the park to me was the fact that I got to see someone who physically couldn't do something at the moment still have a remarkably wonderful time because just driving through the park, just sitting and looking at everything is one of the most enriching experiences anybody could have. That's what really wowed me about Yosemite was the fact that as much as there are world-class hikes that will take you to places of fantasy in your head if you're a fantasy fan or a gaming fan, places that will take you past what even your imagination can think of in some way, shape, or form in Yosemite. Just getting to exist there is one of the greatest rewards you can give yourself in life. That's what really wowed me about Yosemite. Was that it didn't matter. You didn't have to hike 14 miles to get the best views. Could you and get even better views? Absolutely. There's so many things to do at Yosemite. You can swim, you can picnic, you can hike. I believe even in the winter there may be a place where you can possibly ski, but I gotta double check that one. You're going from a valley that starts at 3,000 feet of elevation that's covered in wildflowers and beautiful trees, and it's surrounded by these granite walls that are just gargantuan peaks that inspire even the most curmudgeon of human being. And within a 2-hour drive, and it's a big park with a lot of driving. I don't want to take that away. Some people wouldn't like that as much. But in a 2-hour span, you are still in the same park. And you're in the alpine region or the subalpine region. And you're seeing the trees completely change, the landscape completely change, everything changes. You're still in the same place. And then you're getting crystal lakes that are beautifully temperate and wonderful to swim in. Or you can go all the way to the southern parts of the park and see wonderful sequoia groves and just tremendous views everywhere. I can't gush and love on Yosemite enough frankly. It is my favorite place I've ever been to on this earth. It is about 3.5 hours outside of San Francisco. So rental car is more than ready to do something. There are some cool things around Yosemite as well. We stayed on the western side of the park in Groton, California, and that was about 2 hours from the heart of Yosemite. It's about 45 minutes to an hour from the gate on the western side, but there is so much of a natural expanse to Yosemite that it's not like you get in the park, you drive for 5 minutes and get to a trailhead. Like you got to make it a ways, but that's the best part because it doesn't matter. Like it was well populated by park standards while we went, and it still didn't feel like we were just engulfed in people. We were just exploring one of the most wonderful places on the planet. That's why I really wanted to highlight Yosemite, especially if you want to do classic road trip. It's best. It's a great place to end your road trip and leg, uh, or the first leg of your trip if you want to go all the way west, because it's just such a rewarding experience. There are other classic parks to go to that I haven't been to yet, and I didn't want to recommend without going and experiencing them, which are on the bucket list for the next year or two. But I really wanted to highlight Yosemite and every other park I did because of that. So before I let you go here, I am going to give you a hike for every single one. Like I said, let's go back here. We'll see our boy Spencer and get some inspiration once again. Acadia National Park, I would highly recommend the Cadillac Mountain, North Ridge, and Gorge Path Trail. Utterly brilliant. Absolutely loved it. Um, Cannot gush enough that one enough. The one I'd like to give you for Bryce, I'm going to go Navajo Loop and Queen's Garden Trail. It's about 3 miles. Really, really great hike. Um, Not super strenuous, but the elevation will get to you a little bit. Really fun place. Just really cool to be amongst unique landforms that you can't see very much in life. Rocky Mountain. Rocky Mountain, I didn't get to hike that much, but I will say I got to do the Alberta Falls Trail and Bear Lake South Trails. They're fun little hikes. They're nothing crazy. It was what my wife and I could do with the time we had. I look forward to going back and getting better hikes. But if you're looking for a big hike or looking for a hike that someone's done, I'd recommend those two. They were fun. They were enjoyable. And finally, I'm sorry. Now we're going to New River Gorge. I'm looking at everything crazy and wrong here. New River Gorge was interesting because of that mining colony. So I would go the Kmore Miners Trail. Kmore Miners, you get to go down into the mining colony. You're going steep downhill, but it's through stairs. But then when you get down there, you can do more of the hike closer to the river throughout the abandoned mining colony. It's a very cool experience to go to and enjoy. And finally, a great hike for Yosemite. My favorite place on earth. My favorite hike we've ever done. It's actually not the Half Dome hike. Um, However, part of it, the Mist Trail, is absolutely beautiful. Highly recommend Mist Trail. I'll give you 2 for Yosemite because I love it that much. But I don't want to give 2 away much because it's eventually going to be an ONETA Adventure Show episode. My favorite hike in all of Yosemite is actually the Cathedral Lakes hike, which is in the subalpine to alpine regions in the northwest or straight northern sections of the park. There are 2 lakes called the Cathedral Lakes with a lower and an upper lake. Super, super rewarding hikes that you're kind of going through a denser forest and it slowly starts to trickle out and you're getting these granite peaks near you. And when you get to the lakes themselves, you kind of get to go through a little marsh area, which is really fun. And then just a giant place and a lot of of the larger hikes in Yosemite, that one is not super populated like El Capitan or Half Dome. So if you're looking to kind of escape people, I highly recommend Cathedral Lakes because not as many people do that one. And it's my favorite hike we have ever done. It's my favorite hike I've ever taken. I'm a huge hiker. I love hiking. I'm about to have to retire a pair of boots because they've seen so many miles that I have to get a new pair of boots before I go on adventures. But Cathedral Lakes was an early one of those. It was just I wish I could go back there every day of my life. That's the best way to say it. So I highly recommend that one. But that is your preview for the summer, or some summer recommendations for the national parks if you're here in the United States. Or if you're not in the United States but you want to come over, those are great places to go. Like I said, every national park is a wonderful, wonderful place to go in some way, shape, or form. Some are worthy of a couple hours of a visit, some are worthy of 2 weeks. It's truly what you can give them and the expanse that the park gives to you. And not to mention, there are 429 national park sites, some of which you could spend days in and really, really love and enjoy. Um, you know, this entire country is filled with beautiful landscapes to recreate in, whether you're just driving or picnicking with family, to hiking, to backcountry backpacking and camping. There are so many things to do in the national parks. And as much as there's a part of me that wants to be selfish and says, no, don't go there because I want fewer people there, my passion and my experiences there just wants me to get more people involved and to see these beautiful things, because we never know how long we have in this world. We never know how long the things in this world are going to last. But these are some of the greatest gifts that the world can give you nature wise. And you owe it to yourself to make it to at least one of the spectacular parks that we have in this country, because it is an utterly rewarding experience. So go check one out. That's why I recommended these 5: Acadia National Park, Bryce Canyon National Park, Rocky Mountain, New River Gorge, and finally Yosemite National Park in California. Picked ones that are all kind of dotted across the country so that everyone had a park that was at least reasonably close, I guess. Picked a northeastern one, picked a west coast one, and picked some in the middle there for everybody. Really fun places to go, along with every other national park. I have more adventures for you, and if you want to get more adventure details, go check out our ONETA Adventure Show, which is part of the Rotational Friday basis here at PT Creative. If you want to get nitty gritty, right now the Acadia episode is up and running, and pretty soon we're going to have some more. I'm going to get a lot more uploaded in the future here to make sure that I'm talking about something I love and I'm passionate about, that I can share with all you want fine folk. That is going to do it with this episode of the ONETA Show, with the crossover with the ONETA Adventure Show. If you liked this episode, if you hated this episode, if you just want to be supportive, I don't know, I don't really care. I'm just glad you listened. I'm glad you watched. If you're on Spotify, leave us a review. Super helps. If you are on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications so you can see anytime we get new stuff up on the channel. Share this with as many people as you possibly can. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. I want to hear your opinions. Check out our socials for new content and go to ptcreative.etsy.com to get cool merch. Which more national park stuff is coming. There's already some up there. That is going to do it for us fine folk here over at PT Creative. See y'all in the wonderful annals of the internet. Peace out. Peace, love, and hugs to everyone. Bye-bye.